Been given this video with absolutely no context. I don't know who this man is. Let's give it a watch, shall we?
Did you read the title? Did it say something like your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel or unkind to the people that developed that game. Now,
I agree, but it absolutely gives me the ability to be cruel and dislike the people, the company that does it. Yeah, yeah, and again, you have this idea that people, the devs are actively stating that they put things or they make design decisions that actively go against what the consumer wants. And they state this clearly. And when I'm like, well, that's some stupid ass retarded shit, I mean, okay, am I being cruel? Yes. But again, I'm the consumer, right? And you say it, and you hear this all the time, right? Or, well, I mean, you don't, but the idea is a happy consumer might tell one or two people, or an unhappy consumer will tell 20, 30, 50 people how unhappy they are with a product. Like, yeah. And again, there's a lot of hate and vitriol that these AAA companies have built up. Like, they put time, money, and effort to piss away the goodwill and the faith of their consumer base. And then in some cases, they're glad they're doing this. Like, they want to be free from the consumer. They want to just demand money, demand, the consumer buys the product. And with that attitude and idea, I mean, if you're talking to 300 million people in America, yeah, you'll get the couples that of them that act irrationally towards you, but they came to the table with this mindset and this idea and these talking points.
I'm going to be clear about something. I'm not saying that you have to like the thing you bought. I'm not saying even that you aren't allowed to complain about the thing you bought. You can have whatever opinion that you feel like towards a game. Even if that opinion is stupid and wrong, you are entitled to that opinion. And to some degree, you're entitled to express that opinion to the corporation, to the video game studio that created this game that you bought. You paid 70 of your own dollars for this game and it disappointed you. And you're angry about that.
Yeah, but it goes deeper than that, right? And I think your shirt says it all. It's spite. Like, these people, like the devs, the voice actors, these people with this ideological mindset, and obviously not all, whatever, but you see them on Twitter, like that head director of Avowed, I think he is, talking, like, just saying some stupid, goofy shit about how he will actively hire people that don't look like him. Newsflash, he's a white man. And people see that, and the overwhelming majority are just like, what the fuck is this stupid ass idiot saying? But eventually you have that couple of people who understands where their culture is going and who do not like it, being like, well, this dumbass idiot saying some stupid ass shit, right? I'm not buying this product. And then you don't do that, and then these same types of people attack you. Like, the minute I said I wasn't going to buy Avowed, I was jumped on. Like, I'm the bad guy. And I'm like, and I didn't even think Avowed was that bad of a game. I just don't want to support people that just hates gamers, hate people that are just driven by hate. Like, I don't want to support hate and daddy issues, right? And people attack me like I'm being irrational. Like, no, like, I mean, well, yeah, I will be irrational when it comes to where I spend my money, absolutely. But he had just an irrational, illogical position that just what he wanted to gain good boy points. It's like, okay, he can get good boy points, but he's not getting my money.
That is fine. You are entitled to be angry about it. And you're entitled to express that anger in certain channels. If you are mad at that Ubisoft game, be mad at Ubisoft. Express your anger to Ubisoft or to the studio that made the game. But you cross a line when you start being cruel about it. So why am I
I mean, yeah, you do cross a line, but I think people have the right to cross that line. I mean, as long as it's not illegal, yeah. I mean,
saying you don't get to be cruel because you spent $70? Let's walk through it. One, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing? It's a video game. You don't need to go out of your way to cause harm to other people because of a video game that you don't like.
look, it is real difficult to explain it to people who have this mindset of, oh, you just need to be nice, you need to be kind, whatever. Like, you gotta understand the context in which people are arguing. Like, many people who play games are, they probably don't really have much of a social life, or they can't get women, or they're very, angsty and angry, and they look at the world and they see a lot of unfair things, and they play video games to get away from this. And okay, at the time it was the evangelical Christians. Out came the evangelical Christian mob that are like, oh, if you play games, you're satanic. If you play games, you're a mass murderer. If you play games, you just should not play games under any circumstances. Or if you play D&D, you're Satanist. It's demon worshipping. If you play Pokemon, you're worshiping demons. And at first you're like, what the fuck? Just shut the hell up. Just get the fuck away from me. I just want to play my games. Like, get the fuck away from me. And then now it's, oh, if you play games, you're a sexist. If you play games, you're a racist. If you play games, you're a transphobe. Oh, well, all games need to be, have. And it was at the point where you needed, good, positive female role models, which is fine. But these individuals of this ideology work their way into game companies, and they're now changing the video games, changing the story, changing the idea. And this happened in the wake of George Floyd because companies wanted to cover their ass. But what happened in AAA gaming and entertainment companies is they hired ideologues. They hired people who, through the glory of the university, they only understand one way of interacting with the world, and that's aggressively, and that's imposing your ideology. And the evangelical Christians created these types of people, by the way, right? I 100% believe the evangelical right-wing people have created the woke left-wing. Because again, people act like it's a rebellious phase that now they're being told, no, this is the right way to act. And now you have to deal with these types of people who are narcissists, who think they know better than you, that demand your money, demand your respect, and it's like they're not giving you a better product. So, and again, you play games because you know these people in real life. You play games in the confines of your own home to get the fuck away from these people. But now they're in your fucking games. They're lecturing to you, talking down on you online. It's like you run away from these individuals and they seek you out. So how do you think an individual that, again, maybe doesn't fully have their mental faculties there, but they play games because it calms them down and mellows them out, how do you think they're going to act if now their video games are talking about, oh, how America's bad, capitalism bad, your race is bad, your skin color's bad, you being a man is bad. How the fuck do you think an individual is going to react to that? Cruelly. And your shirt says it all right there. Spite. This is what happens. They create people to spite them. And spite isn't rational. Spite isn't logical, right? But it's a completely perfect way to act towards people who are being irrational and illogical towards you.
Again, I'm not saying you're not allowed to be angry about it. I'm not saying you don't get to express your dissatisfaction with the content of the game that you're not enjoying. But when you climb into someone's personal social media and start actively attacking that person, when you celebrate layoffs at a studio because the game that you don't like didn't do that well, you're crossing a line into being cruel. And fundamentally, you should have more grace for other human beings.
Brother, right? Brother, if the studios have actively done everything in their power to piss on the goodwill of the consumer, yes, you are fundamentally in your right to be like, yeah, I'm glad that studio failed. You know, they could have got the hint and got the idea that people weren't going to buy these games if they did this, but they did it anyway to either cover their ass or maybe they were given money or whatever, given access journalism to do so. Yeah, and people know it is purely ideological why this is happening. I mean, maybe if you're upper management and maybe if you have a golden parachute to another company, you don't care. But for the consumer, for the individual who, again, play games to get away from real life, at least maybe just for a little bit. You know, maybe you have a stressful job, maybe you're barely at home, and now you're at home, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna pop a fucking game in and enjoy it. And now these individuals are on your, their vitriol and their hate is now on your screen for you to see in like Dragon Age Veilguard. Yeah, I think a person's going to be mad, and a person's going to be irrational. And when the companies and their shills and their ideological tendons try to defend these companies, then the company goes under. Yeah, people are going to be like, yeah, good fucking riddance. You know, if you're not giving a product people want to, consume, you just shouldn't exist. And yeah, it sucks. People are going to be laid off when this happens. People are going to lose their jobs. But again, the market's not fair. And you have no one to blame but the company for doing this. Oh, and the individuals that go on Twitter and don't shut the fuck up, but they're representing the company, but they have the gall to attack the consumer for any reason, right? I don't care what the reason. Maybe your consumers are racist. I don't care.
But if you're not buying that, let's go on to point 2. You don't know what caused the results that you don't like. Let's go through an example. Let's say that you don't like the line delivery on a piece of dialogue. Is that the fault of the voice actor? It might be, but it could be a lot of other things too. It might be the fault of the person who was directing that voice actor. Maybe they were given very specific instructions to deliver the line in this particular way. Maybe the writer who wrote that line wanted it delivered in this particular way, and the stage direction specified this particular line delivery. Maybe the recording equipment at the voice studio went down, and the only take they managed to get was this first one that was done just to set the tone, and they were just kind of out of time and stuck with it.
Brother, there are so many older games where the dialogues and the line just came from some intern from the office, and you can tell because of the mic quality, like from the first Fear game, or like the Masquerade, right? But those were gamers, people who made the game, having an idea on how the game and how the dialogue and how to fit in the dialogue and how people act as human beings in the game, making the game, right? The problem nowadays is games are like companies are so spread out and they're making art as if it's a mass producible product. Say you have the dialogue being made in one studio, You have the characters being made, the drawn and made in another. You have the game being coded in another. And when you do this, you have like a game like Interstellar, where it's like it's a in the trailer they're talking like two high school girls, but it's like a girl who's probably in her like mid 20s talking to a 50-year-old lady, and they're talking to each other like they're high school girls. Like, it just doesn't feel right. And again, games made 20, 10, 15 years ago with a fraction of a budget, a fraction of the number of people, made just objectively better video games than games being made today, right? Like, people, all you have to do is look at that and be like, okay, I don't really care. You know, well, companies done more with less. You know, Blizzard did more with less back in the day. EA has done more with well, I mean, EA was a publisher, so I guess bad idea. Bethesda done more with less. So I don't care this idea. Oh, you need to care for the structure. Like, I don't care. I'm a consumer. They're not like I'm not their baby daddy. I'm a consumer. Give me a product. If the product's bad, I'm not going to play. And again, coupled with everything I said previous, yeah, you will get people that just act irrational and act out of spite.
So if you go and you start attacking the voice actor for a line delivery you don't like, it might not be them at all. It might be something else. Indeed,
But I mean, people attack like the voice actor for having stupid fucking opinions against the consumer. That's where we're at. Where devs and consultants and community managers and voice actors and actors in movies just have stupid fucking opinions that, okay, maybe in their clique they get a yup, but to the average consumer, they're like, what the fuck is this person on about?
it might not be the line delivery at all. Maybe the problem was the writing. So should you go attack the writer? Well, no, because why was the line written in this way? Was it written this way because the writer had a specific thing they were trying to say? Maybe. Maybe it was written this way because there was incredibly tight time pressures due to other externalities on their time. Maybe the direction of the game changed radically 3 months ago, and they had to rewrite this entire character in just 3 months, and you're just getting the first draft of that writing. Maybe the lead writer wanted this character to be in a specific way, and it constrained what the writer was able to do while they were writing this character. Maybe the creative director on the project had specific goals that they had in mind, and they were pushing the writing in a particular way or restricting how much leeway the writers had in order to express their vision on what the game was able to do or be. Maybe the executive producer, all of these people reporting up into the executive producer, decided that this game should be different in tone and was pushing the game direction in a different way. Or maybe the leadership of this project changed 6 times and the direction changed 6 times, and you're getting little bits of writing from each of these different directions, and there was never adequate time to step back and rewrite it.
Maybe I don't care. Like, you're selling me a product. Like, I'm not your friend. I just want a good game. For 70 fucking dollars, right? Like, Ubisoft probably suffered all of these things, which happened, and what they made Skull and Bones, and that game was a flop. And then they made Star Wars Outcast, and it was also a flop. But they made damn sure to add that trans disabled character, like operator, in what was it Rainbow Six Siege, right? You know, just to gamify their diversity in a game that has so many fucking cheaters. It's almost unplayable. Like, they make bad fucking products, but they make damn sure to have that diversity and, you know, the social points while making bad fucking products. And people see this and they're like, well, what the fuck? And then you're demanding more money. Like, the games used to be $60, and before that they were 50, and they're demanding even more money for this. I don't care. Like, Blizzard game, like these companies that are multi-billion-dollar companies, they've made good game, decent games in the past, but now they're over bloated, and they've done so, you know, maybe because they hired just a bunch of their friends and a bunch of people, and you had the Twitter situation where out of 5 people, you had 3 sitting drinking their wine and their latte, looking over the 2 actually doing the fucking job, or maybe the one, because one was probably working from home. Like, I don't really care the processes. I just want a good product. And it sounds cruel, but people have other problems in their lives, and all companies seem to want to do is add. Like, all the ideological individuals seem to want to do is add to their problems.
Maybe the CEO of the entire company really wanted his nephew to be hired as a script consultant. And this guy with literally zero experience was coming in and pushing for mandatory changes to the project. How realistic are all the things I just said? Some of them are incredibly realistic. Some of them not so realistic, but I've seen things that look an awful lot like all of the things I just said. So when you decided to personally attack that one specific person on social media, how certain are you that it was their fault, that they are responsible for that thing that you don't like? And I'm going to tell you right now, you shouldn't be certain, because you don't know exactly what was going on within the project.
Yeah, but we see again these art directors, writer directors of failed products flying to other products, and then they fail, and then they fly to another. Like, people are, human beings have this bad habit of spotting trends and looking at references in the past. And I get it, this is a bad thing to do, you know, because you know, if you're of a certain ideology, you don't want this to happen because there could be things that go against your ideology. But people are spotting trends, people are spotting situations, and yeah, you shouldn't ever attack individual devs and writers unless they talk shit to you, the consumer, or have stupid ass opinions. And as long as it's not illegal, yeah, people have the right to be concerned and to criticize, and some people might not, you know, fully be able to do that without being a little bit emotional about it. But yeah, I mean, I think as long as it's not illegal, and as long as, you know, you're not like threatening harm, it's like go ham.
You don't know the exact circumstances that resulted in that thing you didn't like. Even people who were on the project aren't always going to be absolutely certain on who is responsible for something being exactly a particular way. These projects have hundreds of people on them. Content moves around between multiple people. Unless I am the person who is actually responsible for something being a certain way, that chain of custody isn't always going to be super obvious to me. And all of this isn't to.
But again, the end consumer doesn't care. Like, they should not care. Though, I mean, you should care if it makes a bad product, right? Because, I mean, well, people still don't care. They'll just see a bad product and be like, I'm not paying money for this. And apparently now that's hate. Now that's criticism. Now any type of criticism is hate. Any type of criticism is harassment. It's like this is where like it's a very feminine way of going about discussion, where you're like any type of criticism is bad and harassment and all that. It's not how companies should act. That's trying to take your money to sell your product, right? That's how like 12-year-old schoolgirls act. And anyone who has to deal with that is like, man, you're not getting my fucking money. Get the fuck away from me. I'll play my gotcha game. I'll play my game from the east. Like,
to say that you aren't allowed to have your own opinions, to not like the things you don't like. It's specifically to point out that you being angry at a specific person, you attacking a specific person, is often misdirected. If you feel like you're just not getting the satisfaction from yelling at the corporate Twitter channel or yelling at the studio directly, if you feel like you need to focus it down onto an actual human being, I mean, that's really sad. I'm sorry. That's very sad. And hopefully you can grow beyond that. But I will give you a couple of outlets. If you need to complain at a human being, I'm going to say you don't get to go lower than the first person in the credits. You can go higher than that, but no lower than that. The first person in the credits is the person who was, theoretically at least, in charge of the project. They are the person where at least some of the responsibility is going to lie. Now, did they have full control over what was going on in the project? No, because you could still have the CEO of the company forcing them to use his stupid nephew as a script consultant. But at the very least, they were in charge of the project for a somewhat significant percentage of the time.
I fail to see what this has to do with like again, at the end of the day, people just you know criticizing bad products and bad actors and bad things that happen in the company. Like, yeah, people obviously shit on the company. I mean, the CEO, like, people understand that he's getting money regardless, and the director, like, yeah, he's getting paid regardless. And most projects have like 90 fucking directors on a single project. Like, I fail to see what this has to do with the discussion. I think he just thinks there's just this rabid hate mob of people online just going after individuals. No, I mean, people usually just go after the people that open their fucking mouths, like the guy for Avowed who says stupid shit, or like Rachel Ziegler who's playing the Snow White main character, well, Snow White in Snow White, who says stupid shit, or like that one girl from The Acolyte who did a diss track saying stupid shit. Like, this isn't a hate mine. Yeah, people are happy when bad studios that made bad products go under, because we want the situation where companies are releasing good games, not just mid games like Avowed. Like, again, I thought Avowed, from what I've seen, was just mid. But people's tolerance for slop has increased. And if you're playing 2 out of 10s, 3 out of 10s, you will play 5 out of 10 and be like, wow, this is very interesting.
So if you are mad about Anthem and we look at the credits, no shit, that's me. But yeah, if you feel like you need to yell at somebody for the way that Anthem is, it's much better to be yelling at someone like me, who was theoretically in charge of the project, or at least in charge of the project for some of the development time, than yelling at someone who was working on the combat or the level design or whatever.
Yeah, but again, what I've heard was even the developers at BioWare didn't know what the fuck type of game they were making until it was first announced at E3. And they're like, oh yeah, that's the type of game we're making. Like, that's something that would have been unheard of in the for like when the first Mass Effect came out. When BioWare made good fucking games. And EA, they published for good fucking games. Like that's something that just wouldn't have happened. But now that companies are overbloated, and now they're hiring ideologues and ideology and theater kids that don't care for the consumer, they don't care for the product, they don't care for the IP, they don't even really care for the company. They just have daddy issues and gotta profligate their daddy issues. And when that happened, people act out of spite towards these individuals. Or rather, it's not paying for the product or not buying it and being like, oh, it went down, good fucking riddance, it was a bad company. Sometimes you will have people that are acting like irrational. And clearly, and obviously they shouldn't, right? I'm not saying if there's people legitimately harassing and bringing hate that it's a good thing. I'm just saying, like, let's not pretend that there wasn't a series of processes that didn't get us to this point, for in the past couple of years with the changes in companies and how they've decided, no, we're going to start spiting the consumer. Like, let's not act like none of that has happened.
Because again, you don't know exactly what their reality was. When I was an executive producer, I got paid pretty well. And to some degree, from my perspective, some of that compensation was to act as a lightning rod for this negative discourse. It's one of the reasons why I think it is an executive producer's responsibility to have a social media presence. Because some of you, if you're still watching, will play a game and be angry about it and need to yell at a human being. And I think one of the executive producer's responsibilities is to protect his team. And part of protecting his team is providing that lightning rod. If you don't provide that lightning rod, then people who need to vent are going to find places to vent. We live in a social media world. Many people have some form of social media presence. If you, as the most senior person on the project, don't have a social media presence, then people are going to go and find someone else.
Human beings don't act like that. Again, maybe if you're terminally online, you have this opinion, but I mean, people have many problems with many other responsibilities, and they use video games as the outlet. But again, if the video games themselves are now starting to spite them, I mean, and I do agree with you that there should be someone there to take the heat. Like, I'm not saying that I mean, that's the one thing you've said that I actually agree with. Like, yeah, there should be someone that can take the heat, that can probably explain everything that happened, and I mean, maybe not step on toes, but try to explain the processes as of why these things have happened. But the problem is that's not what's happening. Companies are doing this thing where they're like, no, we make the product, we demand the money, and if you don't give us the money, you're a bad person. Like, that's what people are doing. That's what companies are doing. Like, they're not even going to attempt to hear out the consumer. They're just assuming the consumer are just these moronic imbeciles that need to just give them money, and they demand the consumer shut the hell up. Explain. You see this with community managers, right? Like, companies hire these community managers from hell that just there's a spite the consumer, and you have situations like the Lord of the Fallen where the community managers kick the very fucking CEO of the game out of their subreddit of their fucking game because the community managers have an ideology and they think they know better. And it's like people see this, and what do you think the mind like is going through that individual's head? Because everyone knows these types of individuals that when they have daddy issues and they have a problem and they have issues, they will try to just express it. And sometimes you will be the person that's in the way of that. Like everyone had to deal with these individuals, and you don't like them. So when you see it online, like it's like you get that same emotional reaction, and you're like, what a. It's like you get the same reaction of like your dog shitting on the floor. You're like, oh god, oh fuck, and you're like, what the fuck, man? Like fuck these people.
Someone who isn't paid as well as you, someone who doesn't necessarily have the tools to protect themselves from the toxicity that is leveled at them. I would say again that you shouldn't be targeting people directly, even the executive producer. But you know what? If you feel the need, the higher up in the organization you go, the more I'm going to say have at her. As you get beyond the executive producer and you get up into studio leadership and group leadership and the C-suite and the person in charge of the entire corporation, they share responsibility in the game you don't like being the way that it is. So if you feel the need to yell at them, again, probably don't, but they're big boys and girls, so they should be able to handle it. The reality is, most of those people do not have a social media presence, do not have a way that you can yell at them directly. So a lot of times what I'm telling you is the least senior person you're allowed to yell at is the executive producer, and a lot of times the most senior person you're going to be able to yell at is the executive producer.
I don't care. Again, like how I spite these companies is just not buying the product. And the problem is a lot of people are following that train. A lot of people are thinking like me. It's like I'm gonna put my money towards things that I want to play. And if I see a stupid idiot online, I'm not saying you. I mean, you have some interesting opinions, but not you in particular. Like the type of individual that will spite their consumer, ideologically or whatnot, or then think they know better. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be like, why are you saying this stupid ass shit? What the fuck's wrong with you? But at the end of the day, I'm just gonna put my money towards the things I want, I like. Like I'm playing this game called The Forever Winter, and I'm streaming it. I fucking love that game, right? Or like Warframe. This is like my baby. I'm even jumping back on Cyberpunk 2077 and modding it. Like I'm putting my money towards things I enjoy, like Blood West. They had a DLC come out, amazing. Like a lot of people are just doing like, yeah, you'll have the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that generally spurred the fuck out, but the majority of people are doing what I'm doing, and that's the problem. Like the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is indifference. People are just not caring. They're putting their money towards Eastern developers, Eastern gaming companies, indie devs that deserve it, and give them the product they want. The way this should operate, the way this thing of I give you money, you give me product. That's how this should operate. Not, oh, you demand my money, you call me a bad guy for not giving you money, and you attack your consumer, and you want to have this baby daddy relationship with your consumer. Like that shit's not gonna fly with ordinary people. Like get that shit out of here. And I don't care your ideology. I don't care. I don't care your emotional manipulation. If you can't convince me to give you my fucking money, get the hell out of my face.
So once again, the executive producer serves as a lightning rod for all this vitriol. If you feel like you're not being listened to when you complain on Metacritic or you complain on the forums of a studio or you complain into the social media channels of the publisher or the studio, be aware that this stuff is carefully scrutinized, not just by the social media teams, also by the teams themselves. Arguably, in a lot of cases, to too great of a degree. The team is listening, I would say, often too much to what you are yelling about and complaining about in these channels. But don't worry.
Yeah, to the 5 people actually playing, brother. Again, people are just not buying the product. That's the problem. The problem isn't the 1% of the 1%. The problem is people are not buying these games, and the companies are failing, and studios are failing, and the very thing, like the very processes up until this point that allowed it to happen, that we've called out, like people were calling out. At first, they were shot down for that people that throw ideological and morally charged labels on you for even pointing this out. But at the end of the day, they were just bad products. They're just using ideology to defend as a shield, right? They're just using these ideological and emotional tactics as shields against criticism. And then when the company eventually failed and the products eventually fail, people were like, yeah, good fucking riddance.
Worry, you don't need to go onto their Twitter channel and yell at them directly because they're going to hear it anyway. Be a human being, have some empathy, and stop being cruel. Stop throwing a party because a bunch of people lost their jobs.
No, we will. Again, it's all on your shirt. Spite, like they've been doing, like Blizzard has spent years pissing away their good faith. Ubisoft, BioWare, EA, Bethesda now, and I mean I thought Star I can't even think of the fucking name. I completely forgot the name. I was about to keep wanting to say Star Sector, but I mean that's another game I played. Star Sector, amazing game. But yeah, I mean these companies have done everything in their power to shit on the consumer for the exact same reason. They use the exact same tactics that we see, and they're being applied across the board. Hiring community managers from hell, hiring diversity hires, hiring diversity directors, and people who don't care for the product, they don't care for the consumer. Or, and if they did, you would have at least maybe a couple good games come out, or even a couple games come out that are original. Because what's coming out are prequels, sequels, remakes, remasters. Like nothing new is coming out in video games, except if you look in the indie sector, like Forever Winter or Blood West. Like nothing new is coming out of AAA gaming companies, and things that are new, they look like they're made for children, not for gamers. And you see this even in the design. Like that's the product. People will be happy if companies that do not give the consumer the product they want go down, because if the company is not making a product and people are not buying the product, then why the fuck are they laundering money? Maybe, like, why would they exist? And it sucks. It's not fair, but it's the way it is. You know, something can suck, but still just be how it operates, and you might not like that.
Because you don't know the circumstances that resulted in the thing that you're mad at. People deserve some grace, people deserve some empathy from you, and if you can't provide that, then stay off the internet completely. One last time for the cheap seats, you are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to be angry about a game that you bought. You paid good money for it. But try to remember that it's just a game. Even more importantly, when you are expressing your complaints, Stay away from cruelty. Stay away from targeting individual people. Stay away from trying to cause harm. Stay away from celebrating harm done to actual human beings. Express your opinion to the company that made your game. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like. Be specific. It will help you get games that are more like what you want.
Brother, that's what we've been doing for the past couple of years. And what happened was they just doubled down. Again, in 2016, when people tried to do it, that's when Gamergate happened. And people were attacking gamers, attacking people who played games, saying they're racist, sexist, and all of that. And it was just people that were voicing their complaints, voicing their criticisms about games, journalism, and reviews. And we've been doing this even to companies, but we do this. And again, the official like communities, like your comments are deleted, your comments are like you are attacked, they come after you, like you weren't. They want the system where they can just give you a product and you're not allowed to point out the problems and the issues, even if they are ideologically charged issues. Even if that race swap is sent to a white character to black, people don't like. Again, you have people who are incapable of having the adult discussion, and they'll just scream racism, woo! And they'll flip the fuck out. And it's like, you can't have an adult conversation with that fucking person. Like, can you? I'm at the point where if I can't have an adult conversation with people, I'm just not going to. I'm just going to be like, you're a fucking idiot. You're stupid. You're not getting my money. This is how you act towards irrational people who haven't rationed themselves into a mindset, and they act irrational towards you. It's 100% fine to be like, you're an idiot. Fuck off. Right? Because again, they're just strangers, and it's just a game argument. Again, these are people's hobbies. Games were there when people, maybe didn't have a lot of friends, maybe don't even have family to confide into. Maybe they're a little autistic, and video games is how they get some enjoyment. Like this whole it's just a game argument or always comes from people who don't play fucking games, right? I mean, it's a form of art, and we should fucking treat it like it, right? And this is true because even in other countries on the planet, things like video games, TV shows, and movies have, like the other cultures understand this. But Americans fail to understand this, even though America created this idea. And this is why I even have my channel. This is to point this the fuck out, even if it's only to 5 fucking niggas.
But when you are personally attacking individual devs, you are crossing a line. And you're probably attacking the wrong person anyway. A special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member, there is a link to that down there.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care for the ad read. It's crazy you expect gamers and consumers to have higher morality than the game developers and companies who lack morality. No wonder people will celebrate the downfall of video game studios. Yeah. Like again, the individual that acts irrational towards you and flips out at you always demand that you're like, no. You should be kind and nice while I'm smacking you over the face. It's like, no, I don't think I will. Making a bad product is simple. That simply makes the product not sell. There's been plenty of bad games that fall into obscurity without a sliver of controversy to actually attack a consumer because you don't agree with their politics, and calling them racist, Nazis, chuds, bigots, etc. It's when you invite the backlash that's fully deserved of many modern developers. This is fucking huge. But again, the people in the comments are saying what the fuck I'm saying. $70 on buyer cruelty doesn't buy me a good game either, apparently. Yeah, I mean, thanks for the video title. This video is nothing more than a refusal to accept accountability. Don't complain about actual people who lose their jobs. It was to create a worthwhile product. Complain only about the faceless corporations so that your criticism is received by no actual living human. And thus, you're screaming the wind into the wind can be ignored and dismissed as it has been for decades. Exactly. People actually responsible for the creation of the final product should be held responsible for anything. They should just continue having their same cushy, comfortable jobs forever, no matter their output, even if they spend their work days hurling insults out on Twitter about how gamers are evil-ish, phobe, Nazi. They must never face any kind of ire in return or face any accountability. Like, I think this is just how people think. I mean, and it's probably sometimes it's not fair. It didn't happen overnight. Years of employees from across multiple levels show active hostility and disregard for paying customers. Don't get to act surprised when people push back. The customer have been called their every insult under the sun and moon, and you say we should act civil, but that civility was never there from one side to begin with. From the producer side, only contempt and hostility was there from the beginning, and people are already sick of the ivory tower addicted preachers. Yes. Yes. You need to get used to the idea that you're responsible for your own words. Absolutely. I could just quote any singular part of this vid and explain why it's dumb, but I would have to literally go sentence by sentence and write the entire book. Well, I'm doing it for you. Me finds a corpse of a rat inside a recently purchased cereal box. This guy. You don't know the whole story, so don't be angry about it. A simple bill of $70 gives me the right to critique the product. Yes! 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 You're the new title for my video. But anyway, I mean, it's odd. I don't think he has any ill will. Well, I mean, I don't attack him, but I mean, come on, man. People like to just pretend these things don't have a start point. This is just the end point, and that's just not the way what's going. That's just not what's going on. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. Peace.